I've noticed there's one type of content that has grown exponentially in the last 5 years.
Podcasts. Seems like everyone's got one today, doesn't it?
From business owners to reality stars to influencers, everyone is starting one, and for good reason.
Because they can be lucrative. And if there's one thing I've learned from my 16 years on the internet, it's that you guys love when I share how much I make doing things. So today, I'm gonna give you what you want.
This is how much I made in my first year of having my podcast. So this is my podcast. It's called Step by Step. I launched it in January of 2025 and I distributed it on Apple, Spotify, and most importantly, YouTube.
So there are two main ways that I monetize my podcast. The normal podcast ad reads, which are something like this.
I want to thank Cure Hydration. I also want to thank Viore for sponsoring this episode, Quince for sponsoring this episode.
And because I shared the episodes on YouTube, I also monetize them through Google AdSense.
Most of the money is made through the host read ads, so let's talk about how I got those first.
So a couple months into having my podcast, I was able to join a podcast network, and this is how you are going to get those integrated ads that you actually read as a podcaster. There's a bunch of different podcast networks. You'll often hear them at the beginning of a podcast, like, "This is a Dear Media production." The network will go out and pitch you to advertisers. They will buy slots of future episodes, and that's kind of how it works. So the reason podcasts are so lucrative is you can do multiple ad reads. A lot of times when you listen to a podcast, you'll notice there will often be between 4 to 6 ads. I've heard as many as 8 in an episode. For my podcast, I usually only did 2 ads per episode, and I will explain why that is a little bit later. And you get paid based on how many views you typically get, or in the podcast world, they're called downloads.
Now, before we get into the exact amount I made, I wanted to thank Tonal for sponsoring this video. Tonal is a smart home gym system, and it is the one I get the most questions about. They just launched the Tonal 2, which is a strength training smart home gym that mounts to your wall, so it doesn't take up too much space in your home. Tonal has these adjustable arms, which unlock 300 different types of moves that you can do. They move not just up and down, but you can kind of change every angle of them so that you can do all kinds of different moves. So to turn the weight on and off, you press the button right here, so I can just go, and now we've got weight. It's just gonna adapt. So if I'm struggling, if I hold it for 5 seconds, it'll let the weight off. But over time, it'll add a little more. I like that you don't have to think about it. You don't have to change anything. As you're doing more reps, it's gonna sense how you're doing and add on more weight if it thinks you can handle it. And vice versa. If it notices you're struggling, it can turn the weight off for you. Tonal really is great for everyone, whether you like to lift really heavy weights. It can do up to 250 pounds. And if you're not into super heavy lifting, they've actually recently added Pilates programming.
And don't get it twisted, you guys. Pilates can be just as hard, if not harder, than the other exercises.
It really has a variety of workouts, everything from strength training to cardio, yoga, bar, even golf-focused workouts. It really has something for everyone. And it is possible to try Tonal before you buy it. They have a bunch of stores throughout the US, so I'll put the store locator down below. If you guys are interested in getting a Tonal smart home gym, I will have it linked down below. Now let's get into how much the podcast made.
So I averaged 15,000 downloads an episode. When it comes to CPMs, or the cost that advertisers pay per 1,000 downloads, the rates are better than YouTube. A typical podcast ad rate is gonna be between $25 and $30 per 1,000 downloads. Or if you're in the finance or business realm, I've heard it can be more like $50 or $60 per 1,000 downloads. And for context, on a YouTube video, you're typically only getting $5 to $10 per 1,000 views. So with my 15,000 download average and CPM of around $25 to $30, I was averaging between $300 and $500 per ad read. So with 2 to 3 ad reads per episode, a lot of times I was bringing in $600 to $1,200 per episode through that form of monetizing. But that's not the complete amount that I made. I actually made more than that.
So this is one of the later episodes where I had 3 ad reads. How much they pay kind of depends on the business niche. And from this episode, I made $1,400.
And this is another episode where I made $1,080.
And then some of the episodes that only had 2 ad reads, I'd usually make between $400 and $600. This one made $675.
In total, I ended up uploading about 33 episodes. The first 5 were not monetized at all.
And then the next 7 episodes only had 1 ad read, and the remaining episodes had 2 to 3 each.
In total, from the host read ad reads, I made $12,998 so far this year. Podcast Network gets to keep a percentage because they secure the ads, so I get paid out $10,398
$90.
And then we've got the YouTube ad revenue. It actually made more than I thought. I kind of forgot about this portion of it, but it ended up making $4,868 just from the YouTube AdSense. Like, that's actually pretty good from that.
So in total, from January to October, the podcast made $15,266.
Not bad for the first year of a side project, I would say. It takes time for things to ramp up and to really make more money from them. When you're starting out with anything, a podcast or YouTube channel, it's rare for it to blow up overnight. And to make anything from it the first year, I think, is pretty good. But at the same time, I do question if it's really worth my time.
So this is a realistic look at how much you can make from 15,000 downloads per episode, but I want to show you how this can become a serious business if you can grow your viewership.
So you guys might be wondering, Shelby, why did you only do 2 ad reads? Wouldn't you make a lot more money if you did like 4 to 7? And yeah, I would love to do that actually. But in order to get that many ad reads, you typically need to hit a certain download threshold, like at least 30,000 downloads per episode. You can really see how this scales and how people can make a lot of money with podcasts. Let's take, for example, if you're getting 50,000 downloads per episode. Let's be conservative with the CPM. Let's say it's a $25 CPM and you're doing 5 ad reads per episode. That would be $1,250 per ad read, or about $6,000 an episode. And if you're doing 4 episodes a month, you know, that's $25,000 a month. So you can see these podcasts, even if they're only getting 50,000 downloads per episode, you can make a living off of it.
But really the golden question is, how the heck do you get that many downloads per episode? Let me share what I've learned with you. Podcasts are notoriously difficult to grow. When you upload a podcast to Spotify or Apple, it is not shared out in some kind of For You page the way that TikTok or even YouTube shares out your content. Really, in order to be getting downloads on a podcast, you have to be promoting it in other places all the time. Number one, I would say you need to be shooting video and uploading it to YouTube. YouTube is much more discoverable, and actually most of my viewership came from YouTube, not from Apple or Spotify.
And when you post on YouTube, don't make the thumbnails look like a podcast. The thumbnails where it didn't look like a podcast sure did a lot better than the ones where it was clearly a podcast. I don't know why, but this just kind of worked for me. Number 2, make cut downs for short form. You need to be posting on TikTok, Instagram Reels, all of that. I really only did this for the interview style videos because personally, I just felt like it was cringy to make a cut down of me just like talking to a camera. I was like, I don't want to post that. But if you want to grow, if you're serious about it, you need to be doing that. That's how people find it, and you can link them on your story to go to the podcast.
Another way to grow is by doing podcast swaps.
This is where you go on another person's podcast and they come on yours. People usually do it with those that have a similar follower amount. If you're in a podcast network, they can arrange swaps for you, I've heard, but that is also a great way to grow a podcast. I will say, yeah, it's not easy, but it's not impossible. And if you happen to be watching this and you have a really big platform, like you were on a reality show or you're big on TikTok, it's gonna be easier for you. But I think you will find it's still kind of hard to get people to go to the podcast. You still need to be doing these things, like making short form cut downs, posting on YouTube, promoting it a lot. Like every time you post an episode, you do need to promote it. When I post a YouTube video, YouTube promotes it, you know, the algorithm shares it out there. When you post a podcast, you still need to promote it a lot. Take Call Her Daddy, for example. Even her, one of the top podcasters, she's still posting an Instagram reel to promote the episode every single time.
So despite successfully making money from my podcast, I have decided to put a pause on it, and I want to explain why so you have a better idea of the reality of running a podcast today.
The first reason I put a pause to mine is it evolved into something that wasn't what I set out to make. When you think of a podcast, you think of just one person recording audio into a mic, but these days that's not what it is. It's a full-on show. It can be sometimes a 3-camera setup, it's a whole YouTube channel, you need to make a thumbnail. It's just kind of a lot more than what I intended for it to be, and thus it was way more time consuming as well. Not to mention, if you really want to grow, you need to be doing cut downs for all the short form platforms as well, and you can't phone it in with these. Like, you can't just pick some random clip. It needs to have a good hook. You need to go in and find all the interesting parts and like convince people to go watch that episode. It's not that simple to make a good teaser. Another part of that, what people wanted to see from me wasn't really what I wanted to make. What I set out to make was a podcast about living your life better holistically and interviewing successful business owners or people that are doing interesting things, have cool lifestyles. But the interviews kind of flopped. Those did not do that well, but the ones that did the best were kind of commentary style YouTube videos that, in my opinion, had a bit of a negative sentiment. It felt like I was maybe ranting about stuff. I do think I bring up some interesting points in some of those commentary style episodes, but at the end of the day, it's not what I set out to make, and I wanted them to be just overall more positive. Another reason was I kind of started to run out of topic ideas. At the beginning of having a podcast, it's really easy. You've got so much to pull from, your whole life of content. But after like 30 episodes, I was like, what should I make this week? I don't really know. And that, I just never want to be making content because I feel like I have to be making it.
I also just don't really like the ad setup of podcasting in general.
This was the thing, the brands are paying me for a 15,000 view episode. But some of the episodes got like 100,000 views, and the brands did not pay me more for that. If an episode didn't hit 15,000 views, I had to do what's called a make good, where you put it in another episode and they don't pay you more. But the thing was, I would have episodes get way more than 15,000 views and I wasn't paid any more. It just didn't really feel fair to me. And at the end of the day, I was like, I'm doing this ad read for $400. Like, it's just a very small amount in comparison to what you can make on YouTube and Instagram for brand deals. It kind of just didn't feel worth it to me and didn't really feel worth the time. I would love to come back and do a podcast with a co-host. I think that would be a lot of fun. But the thing is, I just have not yet found a co-host that I have that good like co-host rapport and chemistry with that also has a schedule that aligns with mine. It's always either or. And so I don't know, I think for now, I'm hitting the pause button. It has been fun. I've really enjoyed the interview style episodes, but the commentary ones, I wasn't loving having to make those, I'm gonna be real. So that is a bit about the podcast world. I hope that you guys learned something. Hope you found it interesting. Be sure to subscribe if you want more videos where I kind of show the behind the scenes of how to do things, how much you can make from things, all of that. That's gonna be it for this one, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.